If you've been watching my videos for a while, you've probably already picked up on a band that I'm a huge fan of and have been for a long time, basically since I was a teenager. And so far, I've not done anything on their records, but today I'm going to change that because we're in the week before Halloween and it's time to celebrate creepy stuff and fun stuff. And if you're not very observant, you may be looking at it right now and not even realize what it is. But it's a band that I'm a fan of, and we're going to talk about them today. And we're going to talk about how ridiculously expensive certain things can get that aren't even authorized. That's right. Today, we're not going to talk about a legitimate release. We're going to talk about a counterfeit. And this is absolutely a counterfeit record, but it's worth talking about because it was almost a real record. But this one is a counterfeit, and this record does not exist. It was never officially released. But we'll be right back to talk about a fake that cost me money, and I bought it anyway, knowing that it was a fake. Be right back. We're going to attempt this with a broken camera tripod for cell phones and see how well this works. The thing is completely shot, but I'm going to try it anyway. But yeah, today we're talking about a counterfeit record. This is a bootleg. This does not exist. And if you haven't figured it out yet, the poster behind me is Misfits. Today we're going to talk about Misfits. Misfits is a band that started in the 70s and had limited success while they existed, and then they disappeared and got huge. Major impact on bands like Metallica. A lot of the early 80s metal scene was fans of the Misfits. Not necessarily the glam metal scene, but the more instrument-driven, heavy, speed-based thrash influenced by the Misfits. This record was originally recorded in 1980, intended as their second attempt at a studio album, but it was shelved. And then they were going to release it in 2001, and it made it so far as having promo copies manufactured for record stores and executives and stuff like that. But then, apparently, Glenn Danzig and Jerry Only had some objections to both the artwork and the sound quality and the production value of it, and pulled it literally right before it was supposed to go out to stores. Apparently it was manufactured on CD, and all of those copies were destroyed. Some advanced promo copies made it out, and bootlegs have been made from that. There were no vinyl copies ever mastered from what I've been able to find on this. There were covers made that were never released, but the actual vinyl was never made. So no acetates, no demo copies, nothing ever made, no plates ever made. So all of the vinyl copies apparently have been made by converting the CD files over into master plates to press vinyls. Every single one of these records on the market is a bootleg, and I've not been able to find one and get my hands on one for less than $30, and I finally got one for about $30, and I went ahead and bought it. But it sounds fine. Some of the copies floating around don't. Apparently there are some that are really bad on side 2. I got lucky. I did not get one that was really bad on side 2. I don't know if whatever plates they made have just been pressed to death to the point that they're no longer pressing a quality vinyl. This one does play fine. It sounds fine. But I don't know what it could have sounded like had it actually been released officially. I really wish they would release this officially, but they're not going to. This record is kind of a transitional period in the Misfits where Bobby Steele was going out, and Doyle was coming in. So Jerry's younger brother was coming in on guitar. Some of the guitar work on this is overdubbed by Doyle on top of guitar work that was done by Bobby Steele before him. And I've met both guys. They both can play. One of the rumors is that the playing was sloppy. It's not. I love this record. I really, really can't emphasize enough how much I wish they would actually legitimately release this. It just changed their minds. But, you know, it was scheduled for release in 2001. At that point, we're already 20 years after the recording of it. And now we're another 20 years after that. So we are now past 40 years since this was recorded. 42 years since this was recorded. And it still hasn't seen an official release, even though it was intended to be a full-length studio album. But this is it. And I got to give the guys credit that have bootlegged this. They did a good job on the packaging. I wish it had a little bit more with it, some kind of liner sheet, but it doesn't. It's a very simple, stripped-down bootleg. But they paid attention to the quality of the cover. I've seen copies of this where the cover was extremely fuzzy. This one isn't. And the label work actually looks good on the center labels. And I'm going to show you guys all of this stuff in just a moment. And it's on colored vinyl because, you know, it's a Misfits record. It has to be on colored vinyl. So I'm going to show you guys in just a second the level of detail that went into this. It could look much worse than it does. I've also got some bootlegged Samhain records, which is the band that followed the Misfits, where the covers are completely fuzzy. The lettering is fuzzy. You can tell it's blown up from a small image. And they just cut a severe corner on the manufacturing and use a low-grade quality image, low bitrate image. You've got to meet the quality, guys. If you're going to bootleg stuff, especially. But the weird thing about the Misfits is that there is a major bootleg market for their records. And it can't be denied. If you take one of these in front of Danzig, I've heard reports of him breaking them to get rid of counterfeits. But at the same time, the fans are going to buy these counterfeits. It just makes more sense to me to put out the best quality possible version if these recordings actually exist, and they do. So maybe one day it'll see the light of day. Maybe at 50 or 60 years old, they'll decide that at that point the record's old enough it needs to be released, and they'll just put it out. But chances are you've already heard it. It's been streamed on the internet, several bootleg routes. It's been pressed on CD through bootleg routes. It's been pressed on vinyl now for 20 years as a bootleg, and I got my hands on one. So hopefully you guys like what I'm about to show you with this, and you appreciate it as much as I do. I've listened to this record now a few times since I got it just a few weeks ago, but I thought Halloween would be the perfect time to talk about it, and maybe one day I'll come back to an official, legitimately released Misfits record and talk about that too. But for today, we're going to talk about 12 Hits from Hell, the studio album that hasn't seen the light of day in 40 years. As is accurate to the original planned release, that is the cover. They've accurately produced it. The colored vinyl sticker notice on the front is kind of done, kind of crappy. It's just highlighted with whatever color they said it was. But the back cover, front cover, both accurate. Center labels, I have no idea what they would have looked like because this is a bootleg. It never existed. They never made it this far as far as making a vinyl. But they've done it in true Misfits fashion, even including the little imperfections in the coloring from not cleaning the plates between color runs. As always, guys, our videos are not paid for by anything other than selling coffee. If you like what we do, take a look at our website. It's concafesc.com. We roast coffee, and that's what provides the money that feeds my record addiction. And if I buy a record, chances are I'm going to talk about it on this channel and show you guys, and you can experience it with me. And until next time, which will be in literally a couple of days, and happy Halloween. We'll see you soon with more records.